بسم الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. All thanks and praise are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and may His peace and blessings be upon His last and final messenger, His family, His companions, and those who follow them until the end of times. So welcome to our Umrah Seminar. First and foremost, congratulations to all of you that will be going. It's a huge blessing, it's a huge honor, it's a huge favor that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us all this opportunity and this blessing of being able to go and visit His house, right? The Kaaba, which is the most blessed place on the face of this earth. And in addition to that, we are going to have the opportunity to visit the beloved city of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to actually go and visit his final resting place on this earth in the month in which he was born. Right? It's still the month in which he was born, so it's a huge blessing. It's a huge honor. All of us should feel excited. There should be some enthusiasm. There should be some zeal, and it's something that all of us should be very looking forward to. Now, the Umrah itself, it's something that is very virtuous, right? It is an act of worship that carries a lot of reward and a lot of virtues and a lot of blessings. So, for example, Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrated that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us, "Al-umratu ila al-umrati kafaratun lima baynahuma." That one umrah to the next is an expiation for whatever has come in between them. Meaning, by virtue of going and performing this act of worship, by following in the footsteps of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and performing tawaf and going around the Kaaba and then walking between Safa and Marwa, all of our previous sins will be forgiven. So just by virtue of engaging in this act of worship, which essentially may take only up to 2 hours, right? A 2-hour act of worship where we're following in the footsteps of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and even before him the footsteps of Ibrahim alayhi salam, all of our previous sins will be forgiven. So that is a very, very immense reward. That's a very immense blessing, and that's something that we should have in the back of our minds, that when we are going on this journey, when we're going on this trip, it's not necessarily a vacation, it's not necessarily just a break from our normal daily lives, but it's an opportunity for us to reconnect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's an opportunity for us to kind of recalibrate our lives and realign it with our goal, with our purpose in life, which is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? To submit to Him, to serve Him, and to connect our hearts to Him. And the great starting point for that is having all of our previous sins forgiven. Right? Similarly, Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrates that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Al-Hujjaju wal-Umar wafdullah." That those performing Hajj and those performing Umrah, they are the delegates of God. They are the guests of Allah. In da'awhu ajabahum. If they supplicate to Him, He responds, He answers. Wa in istaghfaruhu ghafara lahum. And if they seek His forgiveness, He will forgive them. So in this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ is telling us about two unique virtues, two unique rewards for performing Umrah. First and foremost, we are considered to be the guests of Allah. That's why people that go for Hajj and people that go for Umrah, one of the titles that's given to them is Duyufur Rahman, that they are the guests of the absolutely most merciful. So when we're going on this journey, we are the guests of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He is the absolutely best host possible, that He is going to honor us in unimaginable ways. And one of the ways that we are going to be honored is that whatever dua we make, whatever supplication we make, whatever we ask for, ajabahum. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will respond. And that is why it is so important that when we go on this journey, we are in the mindset of dua. We are in that mindset of asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all of our worldly needs, but more importantly, for all of our wants and needs in the life to come. That whatever it is we want in this life, we are going to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially those things related to our faith and related to our religion and our practice and devotion, but also any worldly affairs. And on top of that, all of our affairs of the life of the hereafter, the forgiveness, the mercy and grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So whatever du'as we make inshallah on this journey, they will be du'as that are heard, and they are du'as that will be responded to. And the second blessing, وَإِنِ اسْتَغْفَرُوهُ غَفَرَ لَهُمْ, that if we seek His forgiveness on this journey, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive us. And all of us are in need of the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of us have our own personal shortcomings and faults and mistakes. All of us make poor choices sometimes in life. So this is an opportunity for us to have all of those things forgiven and come back, inshallah, cleansed and reconnected with our Lord and Creator. So basically there's a lot of reward, there's a lot of virtue for performing Umrah. And again, all of us should feel excited. We should feel this enthusiasm. We should feel honored that we have been blessed with the opportunity to go and visit the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the home of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, one of the most important things to do before going on this journey is to prepare. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us, "La aqla kat-tadbir," that there's no intelligence like planning. So just like anything important that we do in life, we take some time beforehand to plan and prepare, to ensure that we are going to be doing that thing properly and taking the most advantage of it. So similarly, before going on this trip for our Umrah, we should plan, we should prepare. And our preparation has three aspects to it. There's spiritual preparation, there's mental preparation, and obviously there's physical preparation. So when it comes to spiritual preparation, the most important thing is renewing our intention. And our intention for going on this journey, on going on this trip, should be solely to seek the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That I am spending this money, I'm traveling this entire distance, I'm going to be performing certain rituals and acts of worship as an act of devotion and submission and servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That my goal, my purpose on going on this trip is to reconnect with Allah, to increase my iman, to increase my love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to increase my love for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we should be kind of recalibrating what our intention is, and part of that is reminding ourselves that we are not, again, going on a vacation. Because traveling for a vacation is very different than traveling for an act of worship. That when we go on vacation, we're going to relax, we're going to enjoy, we're going to, find some pleasure. That we want to be free of stress and free of worries. But when traveling for Umrah or traveling for Hajj, it's very different. It's not a vacation. We're not going there to relax. We're not going there to enjoy ourselves. We are going there to perform an act of worship. Right? We are going there to submit ourselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So always keep that in mind of kind of rectifying our intention and making sure that we are doing it solely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Part of the spiritual preparation is that even before going on this journey, we should do tawbah. Because they say the starting point, the beginning point of our journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and reconnecting with Allah is seeking forgiveness for all of our past mistakes. And there's no better and no more profound way of doing so than doing tawbah. So before we go on this journey next week, before we take our flight, we should take an opportunity to pray 2 raka'ahs, right? Pray 2 voluntary units of prayer, and then sincerely ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive all of our shortcomings, all of our faults, and to facilitate this journey for us, and to make it something beneficial, and to make it something transformative. The third thing, as part of spiritual preparation, is our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, is of the utmost importance. It is the most important relationship that we have. But our relationship with others is also very important. So if we have some strained relations, if we have some issues in other relationships that we may have, we should try to make up with them before we leave. That perhaps there's this uncle I haven't spoken to for several months. I should give them a call and just let them know, hey, I'm going for Umrah. Please forgive me for not keeping in touch. Would you like for me to do anything for you? Would you like any du'as, any supplications? So just contact your friends, contact your family members, apologize for what you may have done knowingly or unknowingly, so that we can have a clear conscience before we go on this journey. If you're able to pay any debts, anything that you might owe someone, if you're able to pay back, do so. If you have any debts that you can't pay back, make sure they're recorded and they're documented somewhere, so God forbid if you don't come back, that someone knows and they can take care of that on your behalf. Part of spiritual preparation is this as well, right? Studying and preparing and actually knowing how to perform the act of worship properly and make a list of du'as. This is very, very important, because a lot of us, we're not used to speaking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're not used to asking Him for everything and anything. So we might be able to make dua for like 5 minutes and 10 minutes, but after 5-10 minutes, we're at a loss. We don't know what to ask anymore. So start preparing from now. We still have, a little bit, less than a week before we leave, inshallah, but we can start making a list of du'as from now, right? Du'as for myself, for my families, for my friend, for my neighbors, my co-workers, whoever it may be. So start making a list of supplications so that when we're there, we are occupying our time with making dua. That, throughout the entire Umrah process, which includes a lot of walking, right? You're walking around the Kaaba 7 times, then you're walking between Safa and Marwa, and sometimes people that, they're walking for so long, they get kind of bored, and instead of making dua or doing dhikr, they engage in, mashallah, nice long conversations about everything and anything. And you could be in the Mas'a and you're between Safa and Marwa and you're talking about the Lakers. It happens. So instead of doing that, you should be engaged in dua. So make your list from now, right? Make your dua list from now. Part of preparation is mental preparation, that we want to get in the proper mindset. That again, we are not going for vacation, we're not going for relaxation, we're not going for enjoyment. Rather, we are going for worship. And part of that mental preparation is that things in the other side of the world, especially in Saudi Arabia, do not function the same way that they do here. So here we are used to certain cultural norms, right? We're used to certain behaviors, we're used to certain attitudes, and those cultural norms and behaviors and attitudes might be very different where we're going. That what we consider to be very rude might actually be very normal there. So just keep that in mind, that you are going to be interacting with people from several different countries, right? All different races and ethnicities. You're going to be interacting with Muslims literally from all over the globe. And perhaps their attitudes and their behaviors and their manners are things that you're not used to. So keep that in mind, and remember that you might encounter things that you aren't accustomed to, that you're not used to, and remember to remain patient. That you might find yourself in a situation where there's a huge crowd, right? It's really crowded, and you have not found yourself in that type of rush before. Just remember, things like that can happen. I don't anticipate there being a lot of rush right now, but you never know, right? They opened up the visa system, and I believe there's a lot of groups traveling from the United States. There may be a lot of groups coming from, all across the globe. So there might be rush, there might not be. Allahu a'lam. But just keep that in mind, that you're going to be in an area, you're going to be in a space with so many people that you're not really used to it. Then there's physical preparation, which is packing. So obviously when we're going on this journey, we want to make sure that we're prepared and we have taken what's necessary, and we do not want to overpack. Right? You don't want to take extra luggage and extra suitcases that you do not need. So just remember to pack enough pairs of clothes. We will be there for approximately a week, right? Some people will be there for 6 days, some people will be there for 8 days. So you don't need that many clothes per se. It's not like we're not going to make some sort of statement with our clothing. So our clothing can be simple, it doesn't have to be extravagant. You can, wear the same clothes 2 days in a row, no problem, as long as they're clean. That is not an issue. So pack light and just pack whatever you need. In terms of for the men, the garments that you wear in the state of Ihram will be provided for you in Medina. For men, pack a comfortable pair of slippers. Right? Pack a comfortable pair of slippers, preferably some sort of flip-flops. But flip-flops vary in their level of comfort. So kind of go, to the store and find one that's comfortable, that you can walk a good distance in. Having this bag is really helpful while you're there, right? This drawstring bag is very helpful for keeping your shoes in when you're there, because when you go to the masjid, you're going to keep your shoes with you. Do not leave your shoes on the shoe racks, because those are just like general property. If you leave your shoes on the shoe racks, you will not find them afterwards most of the time. So keep your slippers with you in your bag. You can keep a water bottle with you in it as well. It comes in very handy. For your medicines, if you are on any sort of like prescribed medication, please make sure to pack that with you and keep it with you, and pack it in your carry-on, right? So you don't have it in your checked-in luggage, keep it in your carry-on. Take all the normal over-the-counter medication with you, whether it's Tylenol or, for stomach issues, Imodium and Pepto-Bismol, whatever it may be. But if you forget, then there's no need to worry. Everything that you need is readily available both in Mecca and Medina, right? Especially where we're going to be staying, there are huge grocery stores. There's this grocery store called Bin Dawood. It's the Walmart of the Arab world. They have everything you can think of. Like any item you can think of, any commodity you can think of, is found at Bin Dawood, right? So you don't need to worry about anything. You can find everything you need there. All the medicines, all the snack foods and drinks and whatever you want can be found there, so you don't need to really worry. One of the most common questions is about your phone. So if you have T-Mobile, you're awesome, right? Because T-Mobile has the global roaming and your global data works, and you can, upgrade your plan and everything will be all cool there. If you do not have T-Mobile, then just make sure your phone is unlocked, right? Make sure your phone is unlocked, and then when you're there, you can purchase a SIM card there, which has a few minutes on it for calling and data as well. If you don't need that, then the hotels have Wi-Fi. So as long as you're in the hotel, you can be connected and you can use all your messaging apps and your calling apps and whatever it may be. Our primary way of communicating with the group will be through WhatsApp. So a lot of the announcements that we're going to make for the group while we're there will be through WhatsApp. So having at least one person in your family that has a functioning phone with a SIM card there is helpful. So if you have T-Mobile, if not, then when you get there, we can help you and assist you in purchasing a local SIM card, which will have a data plan on it, and it's relatively inexpensive, right? It's not too expensive, but we'll do that when we get there, inshallah. And the Darus Salam staff will help with that. All right. Any questions on all this fun stuff? All right. So our journey is going to start first and foremost in the city of Medina, right? In the city of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we'll start off today's presentation by talking about, the virtues and blessings of the city of Medina and what we're going to be doing there. So it is definitely a great honor, a great privilege to be given the blessing and opportunity of visiting the noble city of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is a very unique city, right? It's a very beautiful city, and it's a city where you can feel tranquility. You can actually feel the sense of peace when you're there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has favored the city, and He has made it the best place on earth after Mecca. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He chose this city as the destination of the Prophet's migration, as well as the final resting place of our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this world. And this is the city that showed love to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam when his own hometown turned him away. It's the city where Iman will retreat, the first Muslim capital, the center of faith from which the companions set out to invite people from darkness to light. It is the city of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Before migration, it was known as Yathrib. The name of the city was Yathrib. And when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam migrated to Medina, the name changed and it became entitled Al-Madinah, the city. Right? It became the center of the Muslim world. It's known as Al-Madinatul Munawwara, the enlightened city or the illuminated city, because it became illuminated through the blessed presence of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's known as At-Tiba. It's known as the wholesome city or the blessed city. So it's a very blessed place. It's full of virtue. It's full of reward. Praying in the mosque of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is something that carries immense amounts of reward. So inshallah, for 3 days or 4 days, we will have the opportunity of praying our daily prayers, right? All 5 prayers in the mosque of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that is something that is absolutely amazing. Visiting the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, particularly visiting his grave, is considered to be a sunnah as well. That the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam encouraged us to visit him and to send peace and salutations upon him. So the Prophet ﷺ told us that whoever visits my grave, my intercession is incumbent for them. Meaning, one of the virtues and one of the blessings of visiting the grave of the Prophet ﷺ is that once we visit his grave and we send salutations and blessings and peace and security upon him, then his intercession becomes incumbent for us on the Day of Judgment. Meaning, the Prophet ﷺ himself is going to intercede on our behalf in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he will tell Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that so-and-so came and spent their time, their energy, their wealth to visit my grave. So please overlook their faults and overlook their shortcomings. Similarly, the Prophet ﷺ says, whoever visits me after my death, it is as if he has visited me during my life. So when we go there, we should go with the mindset that we are actually visiting the Prophet ﷺ himself. And there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he told us, Al-Anbiya ahya'un fi quburihim yusallun. That the prophets, they are alive in their graves praying. And that's part of the aqeedah, that's part of the belief system of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. That we believe that the prophets, they are alive in their graves. Right? And the dirt actually does not eat their bodies. The bodies of the prophets, just like the bodies of the martyrs, do not decompose within their grave. So when we're going to the city of Medina and we're going in front of the grave of the Prophet ﷺ, it's a very intense moment. It's a very emotional, powerful moment, and it's something that we're going to do to pay our respects and our love for the Prophet ﷺ. So going there with that mindset is also very, very important. So once we arrive in the city of Medina, I believe the group, some of us will be traveling on Turkish Airlines, some of us on Saudi Airlines. Regardless of what airlines we're on, all of us will be going to the city of Medina first. Once we arrive at the airport, we'll have to go through immigration. Immigration in Medina is generally easier than immigration in Jeddah. It might take an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. It all depends upon the rush, and it all depends upon the mood of the custom officers or the immigration officers. Sometimes they have interesting attitudes, and sometimes they don't like to work as fast as they should be working, but that's just part of the process. So we'll go through immigration, we'll get our luggage, and as soon as we collect our luggage and we go outside into the main hall of the airport, there will be support staff from Darus Salam. Right? You will see people from Darus Salam either with a flag or some sort of sign. They will gather us and collect us and load us onto the bus. And the bus will take us to our hotel, which in Medina is going to be the Movenpick. Now the Movenpick or Movenpick, it's very close to the masjid. Literally, when you step outside the lobby, you are on the outside courtyard of the masjid. So in terms of proximity, we are very close to the mosque, and we will be staying there. Part of the group will be there for 3 nights, and part of the group will be there for 4 nights, inshallah. Now, when we are in the city of Medina, the absolute most important thing that we're going to be doing is visiting the grave of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So again, there should be some excitement, there should be some zeal. Obviously, we're going to be really tired when we get there. So if you want to take a rest, no problem. But as soon as I get there, I will, after a few hours, I will take a group to go and see and visit the grave of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we can get to the hotel, we'll check in, you can rest up, freshen up, take a shower, put on fresh clothes, put on some nice fragrance, and we will go and visit the grave of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the etiquettes of doing so is that we should head towards the masjid with humility while sending salutations upon him. We will enter the masjid from any gate that we can, and then we will walk towards where his grave is. So his grave is located at the front of the masjid. So our hotel, for example, is in the back, As a matter of fact, if you take this table, let's say that this whole table is basically the courtyard, and the masjid's in the middle. Our hotel is right here, right? Our hotel is right here. We get out of the hotel, and the grave of the Prophet ﷺ is right here of the masjid. So for the men, it's really easy. We're just going to go and walk around the masjid, and we come to a door called Babu Salam. Right? There's a gate called the door of Salam. We're going to enter through it, and you walk straight, and you come across in front of the grave of the Prophet ﷺ, which is actually the house of Aisha radiallahu anha. Right? The Prophet ﷺ is buried in the house of Aisha radiallahu anha. So when we get there, there's like 3 metal gates. Right? There's 3 metal gates. The middle metal gate, behind that is the tomb or the resting place of the Prophet ﷺ and his 2 companions, Abu Bakr and Umar radiallahu anhu. So the etiquette again is we walk in with humility. We're constantly sending, peace and salutations upon the Prophet ﷺ. And once we get in front of his grave, we will say, As-salatu was-salamu alayka ya Rasulallah. Right? As-salatu was-salamu alayka ya Rasulallah. That salutations and blessings upon you, O Messenger of Allah. Then the next grave right next to it is that of Abu Bakr. And we're going to send salam upon him as well. Right? We'll say, As-salamu alayka ya Aba Bakr. And the grave right after him is that of Umar radiallahu anhu. So we'll say, As-salamu alayka ya Umar. So it's a very quick process. Once we're done with that, we will either exit the masjid or we'll go to the corner and make dua. And this is a moment where our du'as, where our supplications are accepted as well. For the sisters, this process is a lot more difficult. Right? For the sisters, this process is a lot more difficult, and there's certain timings for it. And I believe currently the timings are, we'll confirm once we get to Medina, but I believe there's one timing after Dhuhr, right? Or after Fajr for sure, and after Isha for sure. And there's one more time during the day, I don't remember. So after Fajr, there's an opening for sure. After Isha for sure. There's one more time during the day, I don't remember. But as a group, we will have one of the sisters arrange and take the sisters as a group to go give salam to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All right? Now that is the most important thing for us to do in Medina. Beyond that, we will have one day where we go and do a historical tour of the city. That we are going to visit those places that have either religious significance or that have historical significance. So one of the places that we are going to visit is Masjid Quba, which is the first masjid that was established in Islam. That after the Prophet ﷺ migrated from Mecca to Medina, one of the first things he did was build and establish a masjid. And that is Masjid Quba. And there's a lot of reward for going there. First and foremost, it's a sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ that he himself would go there every Saturday. Sometimes he would go walking, sometimes he would go riding, and he would pray 2 raka'ahs there. And the hadith mentions that whoever performs wudu from their place of residence and then goes and prays 2 raka'ahs in Masjid Quba, they get the same amount of reward as performing in Umrah. So even before doing our own Umrah, we will get the reward of it, inshallah. Right? We'll get the reward of it by praying these 2 raka'ahs in Masjid Quba. Then we are going to visit the area where the Battle of Uhud took place. Right? We're going to visit the mountains of Uhud. And this again is a very sacred place, it's a blessed place. This is where 70 companions of the Prophet ﷺ were martyred. And their graves are there. So we're going to go there, we'll go through a little bit of the history of the battle, and then we will pay our respects to the martyrs of Uhud. And then we will pass by and stop at least where the Battle of Khandaq took place, or the Battle of Ahzab, the Confederates. So we will visit those certain historical sites in the city of the Prophet ﷺ. Again, it will be one of the days, and we'll announce it, everyone will be aware, and we'll go on this tour of the city together. Beyond that, there may be a walking tour of the masjid and the surrounding area to give you an idea of the history. And beyond that, the most important thing to do in the city of Medina is spend as much time as possible in the masjid. Right? Spend as much time as possible in the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ, engaged in worship. Right? Either reading Quran or doing dhikr, sending salutations upon the Prophet ﷺ, reading a book. Perhaps take a book of seerah with you. Because part of the purpose of visiting Medina is to connect our hearts and increase our love for the Prophet ﷺ. And the way we increase our love for the Prophet ﷺ is by learning about his life. So have a book of seerah. You can take a physical book with you. You can have a book on your tablet, whatever it may be. But have a book of seerah that you are reading. There's a really short, sweet book of seerah that literally you can read within 1 hour. It's written by Cat Stevens, Yusuf Islam. All right, it's a very, very short, sweet, succinct, brief introductory book to the Prophet ﷺ. That is something that you can read, and it's something amazing. There's a longer work, which is like really, really long, but it's really amazing because it mentions the lessons you can learn from each incident as well. And it's called The Life of the Noble Messenger by Dr. Sallabi. Right? Life of the Noble Messenger by Dr. Sallabi. You can purchase the book. The PDF is available online for free. Just download the PDF, and while you're in the masjid, read through it. Right? Reading about the life of the Prophet ﷺ is something that will increase your love for him. And inshallah, daily we will have a group meeting where we'll get together and we'll have some lectures inshallah in Medina. All right, any questions from Medina? We're okay? The second book? Dr. Sallabi, Sallabi. Imam Mustafa, okay. Imam Mustafa Umar also has a very nice and succinct seerah book. It's available at the front desk as well. I highly recommend it. It's very excellently written. It's short, it's sweet, and you can also read it on this journey. It's available at the front desk. Mm-hmm. Not as a group, but it's open. It's open daily. It's in the masjid. It's inside the mosque on the second floor. So there's one of the gates. If you want to go visit it, I'll tell you the number, and just go up that escalator, and it takes you to the library. Yes, that one of the places we'll visit is Baqi, inshallah. Yeah. So it's open only after Fajr, and I believe after Asr, and only men are allowed inside. Only men are allowed inside the graveyard. So after Fajr. So what we'll do, one morning after Fajr, we'll go as a group, and we'll visit Baqi, inshallah. No, it's closed. Unless there's a burial, then you can follow the burial inside and you can partake in the burial as well. But we'll go as a group to visit, inshallah. After Asr. Mm-hmm. Inshallah. Mm-hmm. Face the Qibla, yeah. When you're making dua, after visiting the grave of the Prophet ﷺ, you should be facing the Qibla, not the grave. You might see some people facing the grave and doing it, but that is not appropriate. It is much better to face the Qibla because you're making dua to Allah, not to the Prophet ﷺ. All right. So after our stay in Medina, we will be going to perform our Umrah, insha'Allah. So the Umrah itself is it's fairly straightforward, right? It's fairly simple. It's just 4 things. So I want everyone, inshallah, to remember these 4 things off the top of their head. Right? Number 1 is entering into the state of ihram. Right? Number 1 is entering into the state of ihram. Number 2 is tawaf, walking around the Kaaba 7 times. Number 3 is sa'i, which is walking between Mount Safa and Mount Marwa 7 times. And the 4th thing is then shaving and trimming our hair. So these 4 things are the central rights or the central, obligations of our Umrah. So again, number 1, entering into the state of ihram. Number 2, performing tawaf, walking around the Kaaba 7 times. Number 3, sa'i, which is walking between Safa and Marwa 7 times. And number 4, shaving or trimming our hair. All right, so the first thing that we'll discuss each 4 of these things, inshallah, in the time that we have left, and then we can have some questions and hopefully we'll be ready for our Umrah. All right, so ihram. Right, ihram Oftentimes people think that ihram is wearing two white cloths or two white sheets, but this is a misconception. Right? Ihram is referring to a ritual state that one enters when intending to perform Hajj or Umrah. So ihram is actually a legal state. It's a ritual state. It's a state of mind that we enter into when we are intending to perform Umrah or Hajj. And the reason why it's called ihram, like literally the word means to make something impermissible. It comes from the Arabic verb ahrama yuhrimu, which means to make something haram. So the reason why this ritual state or this legal state is called ihram is because when we enter into it, things that are normally permissible now become impermissible. Right? Things that are normally allowed for us to do, there are now restrictions upon them. So for example, normally we are allowed to apply fragrance to our clothes and our bodies. But while in the state of ihram, we can no longer do so. Normally we are allowed to clip our nails and cut our hair. But while in the state of ihram, we are no longer allowed to do so. So this is a ritual state that we are going to enter into. And one of the purposes of entering into the state is to heighten our level of consciousness. That we are going to be more conscious about our speech, about our behavior, while we are in this state of pilgrim sanctity. Right? We can call the state of ihram the state of pilgrim sanctity. And for men, it is represented by wearing these two pieces of cloth. For the sisters, they can wear whatever clothes they want, as long as they're modest and their awras covered, they can wear whatever clothing they want. But for men, while we are in the state of ihram, we have to be wearing these two unstitched pieces of cloth. So when going for Hajj or Umrah, we have to enter into the state before crossing the miqat. So this is going to be easy for us since we are doing our Umrah from Medina. So basically, from when we leave Medina and head towards Mecca, there is a portion on the outskirts of the city, which is the limit, the boundary, the miqat. And before crossing that point, we will enter into the state of ihram. So for the vast majority of us, we are going to be doing this in our hotels, inshallah. Right, we will enter into the state of ihram in our hotels. We will drive through the miqat, and we'll be on our way to the city of Mecca. So whatever day we're departing, we will announce the time for departure. We'll gather everyone in the hotel lobby, and we'll get on the bus. And the bus is going to take us to Medina. And the bus, alhamdulillah, it's fairly comfortable. The bus ride can take anywhere from 4 up to 6, 7 hours, depending upon traffic. Over the past several years, we haven't really come across any traffic. And I would say the average time it's taken us to get to Mecca from Medina is about 5 hours. So 4 to 5 hours. But always, expect that there may be delays, there may be traffic. So if you keep this window of time in your mind, 4 to 7 hours is like the window of time it takes to get there. Yes, we will stop once or twice as need be, to rest and freshen up and use the restroom, whatever it may be. All right, so the way we enter into the state of ihram is by doing the following things. Right, the following is the sunnah way of entering into the state of ihram. Right, first and foremost, we should take a ritual bath. Right, we should take a bath, we should cleanse ourselves, and we should either do ghusl or wudu. And the purpose of this ghusl or the purpose of this wudu is general cleanliness, just to make sure that we are physically clean. Then we will trim our nails, and for the men, trim your mustache, trim any unwanted hair from your body, apply fragrance to your body as well. And then the men will change into these 2 garments, right? We'll change into the upper garment and the lower garment. The upper garment is called the rida, and the lower garment is called the izar. So we'll be wearing these 2 pieces of cloth. For the sisters, again, you can wear any type of clothes as long as they are modest and they're covering their awrah. Once we have washed up, we've cleansed ourselves, we've gotten rid of all of our nails and unwanted hair, etc., we are going to pray 2 rak'ahs. Right, 2 rak'ahs. So we will pray these 2 rak'ahs either in our hotel room, or if you want, you can go to the Prophet's mosque and pray them there, because it's really close by. So you're going to pray 2 rak'ahs. And the sunnah is to recite Surah Al-Kafirun in the first rak'ah and Surah Al-Ikhlas in the second rak'ah. So in the first unit, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ. In the second unit, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. After this prayer, we are going to make the intention. Now the intention is an action of the heart. It does not need to be verbalized, but in order to bring more focus and more concentration, we can verbalize it. So the intention we're going to make is, "Oh Allah, I intend to perform Umrah, so make it easy for me and accept it from me." You do not have to say it in Arabic. Right? The Arabic is, "Allahumma inni uridu al-Umrah, fayassirha li wa taqabbalha minni." But you do not need to say it in Arabic. You can simply say it in English or whatever language you're comfortable with and say, "Oh Allah, I am intending to perform Umrah, so make it easy for me and accept it from me." And then after the intention, we are going to recite Talbiyah. Talbiyah is a phrase that we recite in Arabic. Labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik, innal hamda wal ni'mata laka wal mulk, la sharika lak. That labbaik, here I am at your service, Allahumma labbaik. Oh Allah, at your service. Labbaik la sharika laka labbaik. At your service, you have no partner. Here I am at your service. Innal hamda wal ni'mata laka wal mulk. Indeed, all praise, blessings, and the dominion itself are utterly yours. La sharika lak, you have no partner. So everyone should memorize this phrase before we go. Right? We should have this phrase memorized. Because throughout our journey of Umrah, at least before starting, we are going to be repeating it very frequently. Right? As soon as we pray these 2 raka'ahs, we make the intention and we recite the talbiyah, we have now entered into the state of ihram. So basically, this is the process of entering into the state of pilgrim sanctity. Right? This is the process of entering into this ritual state of ihram. Essentially, it's 2 things. The niyyah, the intention, followed by reciting the talbiyah. So as soon as I make the intention and I recite this formula of labbaik Allahumma labbaik, I have now entered into the ritual state of ihram. So all of us, we will be doing this in the city of Medina, inshallah, before leaving our hotel. If someone does not do it, then we will make sure they do it on the bus, inshallah. So don't worry. All right, everyone will be in the state of ihram when they need to be. All right, any questions on that? All right, so this is how you enter into the state of ihram. Now that we're in the state of ihram, certain prohibitions come into play. Right? There are certain restrictions that come into play. First and foremost is that intimacy or speaking about it becomes impermissible. Right? While in the state of ihram, it is impermissible to have intimate relations with one's spouse or to even speak about it. In Arabic, it's referred to as rafath. Right? Secondly, sins and acts of disobedience. These are forbidden anyways. Right? We're not supposed to be sinning and engaging in disobedience anyways, but when we're in the state of ihram, the prohibition is elevated because we're supposed to be in a state of higher consciousness. We're supposed to be in a state of higher awareness that we are more connected to Allah. Right? Arguing, same thing. We're not supposed to be arguing and debating and getting angry with people anyways. But in the state of ihram, the importance is elevated as well. The fourth is essentially not applicable to us. It was in the past that while in the state of ihram, you can't hunt. Right? Alhamdulillah, we do not have to hunt for our own food. Our food will be provided for us and we can purchase it. But in the state of ihram, you're not supposed to hunt. The fifth is shaving or cutting hair. That while in the state of ihram, when we're in the state of pilgrim sanctity, we cannot cut our hair, we cannot trim our hair, and we cannot cut our nails as well. The seventh is applying fragrance to the clothes or body. That while in the state, we cannot apply any fragrance to our body or our clothes. So no cologne, no perfume, no itar, right? No deodorant, no fragrant soap, no fragrant shampoo, no lotions with fragrance in it. So anything with fragrance that we apply as fragrance becomes prohibited. But before entering into the state of ihram, you can. So for the men and women, before entering into the state, right, before doing the intention and talbiyah, you can put some fragrance on your body, you can apply deodorant, whatever it may be. That was actually the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, that before entering into the state of ihram, he would apply itar to his body. Does that make sense? But once you're in the state, once you make the intention in talbiyah, then it becomes prohibited. Number 8 is specific to men, wearing stitched clothes. And what that means is that you cannot wear normal clothes like a shirt and pants. You have to be wearing those 2 pieces of cloth. Go ahead. Good question. So we will not be in the state of ihram for that long, right? Perhaps the amount of the drive, which is again 4 to 7 hours, and the umrah takes like minimum 2 hours, maximum 3. So you might be in the state of ihram for a maximum of 10 hours. So not even half a day. So it's not that long. Right? All these prohibitions will be in place for not that long of a period of time. All right, for men wearing stitched clothes, which means we're only wearing 2 pieces of cloth, nothing else. Right? We have the upper garment and the lower garment, and that's it. Number 9, covering the head for men. That when in the state of ihram, we cannot cover our heads, meaning we can't be wearing caps, we can't be wearing hats, and covering the face for both men and women. That while in the state of ihram, we cannot be covering our face. Now some people, in order to avoid, getting a cough or a cold or infections, or they might be really sensitive to dust, they wear those face masks, right? If you are someone who wants to wear a face mask because you are, afraid you might get sick or whatever, it's okay. If there's a medical reason, no problem. But just to be on the safe side, you can give some sadaqah for doing so. Because one of the prohibitions is not to cover your face while in the state of ihram. And the last one is also specific to men. That while in the state of ihram, basically the top portion of your foot needs to be uncovered. Right? For men specifically, the top portion of your foot needs to be uncovered. And that is why we recommend wearing flip-flops. Right? Wearing flip-flops because that ensures that the top part of the foot is uncovered. So these are certain prohibitions while in the state of ihram. If we happen to break one of these prohibitions, then depending on what the level of penalty is, it can either be just giving charity, sometimes it can be more severe and require sacrificing a sheep or a goat, and sometimes it can be even more severe and require sacrificing a camel. But inshallah, those scenarios will not arise. Inshallah. If you break your nail on accident, no problem. Right? If you break your nail, don't worry about it. It's intentional. Right? Intentional cutting of the nails is what is restricted. All right. So we'll give him in Medina, inshallah. Right, during one of the group meetings, we will hand out ihrams to all the men in the group, inshallah. Should be avoided. Right, all insects, while in the state of ihram, you should avoid killing anything. And picking leaves and plucking leaves or whatever. But I mean, we're going to be in it for such a short period of time, it's probably not going to happen. All right. No, as long as it covers the awrah, it's modest, no worries. All right. So we are going to enter into the city of Mecca, and as we're driving on the bus, right, obviously you can relax and rest and go to sleep or whatever it may be. But one of the recommendations while in the state of ihram is to recite the talbiyah as frequently as possible. And that's why it's important to memorize this phrase. So as much as possible, we'll be reciting labbaik, Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik, innal hamda wa ni'mata laka wal mulk, la sharika lak. Once we enter into the city of Mecca, we will go straight to our hotel, which is the Swiss hotel. It's located in the clock tower. It is right across from the haram. Like literally, we come down the elevators, right? You have to walk through the mall, or you can walk from outside the mall. It's about like a 2-minute walk, and you are inside of the haram. As a matter of fact, there's construction right now. So that gate, which is the King Abdul Aziz gate, at least last time when we went for Hajj, was not yet done. So it's like a big gaping hole. So as soon as you walk out the clock tower, you can actually see the Kaaba. It's like very, very close proximity. We'll check into the hotel. Everyone will go to their rooms. You can relax for a bit, freshen up. But we will try our best to go and do the Umrah as soon as possible. So perhaps we'll give everyone maybe a couple hours, maybe 2-3 hours to rest. But even depending on time of day, we might delay it. So I'm assuming that we're going to leave Medina like right before Dhuhr or after Dhuhr. So most likely we're going to arrive in Mecca around Maghrib time or after Maghrib. So most likely we will be doing our Umrah in the evening, which is good because it's going to be cooler and the crowd should be a little bit less. And inshallah, whatever the timing is, we'll coordinate it and we'll tell everyone to come meet in the hotel lobby at a certain time, and then we will go for the Umrah together as a group. Right? How many people are going for the first time? Okay, so then you stay with the group, inshallah. How many people have gone before and they know what they're doing? So if you've gone before and you know what you're doing, you do not have to stay with the group. If for Umrah you can go do it on your own, no problem. But if you're going for the first time, or if you haven't gone for a long time and you're kind of uncomfortable, then we are there to serve you the entire journey, and we will be there to take you through the entire process step by step. So we'll meet down in the lobby at a certain time, and we will head towards the Mecca, towards the masjid. Right? We'll enter the masjid, most likely through the King Abdul Aziz gate. We're going to walk into the masjid, and as soon as we see the Kaaba, we will pick a spot and make dua. Now for those of you who have never seen the Kaaba before, this is a very powerful moment. Right? The first time you lay your eyes on the Kaaba, you get full of like emotions that you have not experienced before. It's a very emotional experience, it's a very powerful experience, and this is a time where your du'as are accepted. So we will take an opportunity to kind of go to the side, we'll stand there and we'll make dua. Alright, once we have completed our dua, we are going to go to the mataf. Right, the mataf is the area where you do tawaf. Right, we are going to walk towards the mataf, and we're going to walk towards the Kaaba, the corner with the black stone, because that's where tawaf starts. Now for the men, right before starting our tawaf, we are going to uncover our right shoulder. Right, the sunnah for tawaf in Umrah is that we will uncover our right shoulder right before we start. So as soon as we get to the black stone, the way we start tawaf is we do istinam. We greet the black stone. And the way we greet the black stone is by raising our hands like we do in prayer, and we say Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. Right? Bismillah, in the name of Allah, Allahu Akbar, God is the greatest, or Allah is the greatest. And then we start our tawaf. So in tawaf, what we're doing is we are walking around the Kaaba 7 times counterclockwise. So round number 1, as we're walking around the Kaaba, you can recite anything you want. You can make any dua, you can recite Quran, you can do dhikr, you can choose to remain silent. It is open-ended. There is nothing specific that you need to recite while doing tawaf. But this is the best time to engage in dua and dhikr. Right? This is the best time to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for anything and everything that you want in this life, but most importantly in the life to come. If you have, you run out of du'as to make, recite Quran. If you get a little bit tired of reciting Quran, then make dhikr. And they say the best dhikr to do when going around is Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar. So you just keep repeating that as you're going around. And again, the purpose is not to read words that are empty. That when we're saying these words, it should be said with deep meaning and understanding. That as we are saying these words of praise, we're reflecting upon their meanings. So we should learn what Subhanallah means, what Alhamdulillah means, right? What Allahu Akbar means, what La ilaha illallah means. Right? If not, then dua. And a lot of people, they have these dua booklets in Arabic. And they're like reading these booklets as they're walking around. That's well and good, that's awesome. But we recommend that you make dua in whatever language you're comfortable with. The dua does not have to be in Arabic, especially if you do not know Arabic. Right? It is much better for you to make dua in a language you're comfortable with and to make it an intimate conversation with Allah. Right? Start off by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and thanking Him for all of the amazing blessings He has bestowed upon us. And then just open up and start asking and asking and asking. So that's what we should be doing throughout the tawaf, inshaAllah. So the first round, as we're walking around, we're making dua, we're reading Quran, we're doing dhikr. When you get to the Yemeni corner, right? The Yemeni corner is the corner before the black stone. In that portion of tawaf, we are going to recite رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. That رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيا حَسَنَةً. That, O Allah, O our Lord, give us good in this world. وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً. And give us good in the world to come. وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. And protect us from the fire. So we will recite that from the Yemeni corner until the black stone. And then when we get to the black stone, we greet it again. We raise our hands and say Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, and we start round number 2. Right? Then we go through round number 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, and 7. And after the 7th one, we again greet the black stone, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, and we are done. So our tawaf around the Kaaba is that we are going to walk around it 7 times. And in that, walking around 7 times, we are going to be engaged in dua, in dhikr, remembrance of Allah, and recitation of the Quran. Alright? And there's a lot of virtue, a lot of reward for doing so. There are some, weaker ahadith that mention that when you reach the Yemeni corner, there is a certain amount of angels that are there. Right? I forgot the exact number, but those angels are making dua for you as you complete your round. And that another hadith mentions that every step you take in tawaf, one sin is being forgiven, and you're being elevated 1 rank in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So doing so carries a lot of virtue, a lot of reward. And by doing so, we are reviving the legacy of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And we are reviving the legacy of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And it's the utmost, it is an act of devotion and servitude and submission. Because, people might have some wisdoms that they come up with for walking around the Kaaba 7 times. But in reality, the only reason we're doing it is because we're following the examples of these prophets, right? Of these great men of God, whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to guide mankind. So what's the wisdom behind walking around 7 times? Allahu a'lam. We are doing it as an act of submission, as an act of devotion to Allah. Right? We are doing it simply because the Prophet ﷺ did so. We are following in his footsteps, we are following his example. But it is a way for increasing reward and getting the mercy and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright. Now some might be wondering, what about kissing the black stone? Kissing the black stone is a journey of itself. Right? It is oftentimes very difficult and very hard depending upon the rush. So what we would recommend is, instead of doing it during your tawaf for Umrah, you have 3-4 days to keep trying. Right? 3-4 days you can keep trying to go and kiss it. But during the tawaf for Umrah, it's better to just do the tawaf and just greet it from distance. Alright, any questions on the tawaf itself? All rounds, for all 7. For all 7 you can say whatever you want. So, you can go and touch it. It will be possible to touch it. So the Yemeni corner, when you pass it, the sunnah is just to touch it. So if you're able to, you can. If not, it's okay. Then after the tawaf, if you're able to go to where the door is, the multazam, it's sunnah to go and put your hands up there and make dua. But you might not be able to do so during the Umrah, but afterwards, while you're there, you can attempt to do so. Inshallah. In between tawaf, you can drink your zamzam, no problem. You can eat as well. There's no prohibitions from it. But if you're thirsty and tired, you can even take a break in between. One thing I forgot to mention is, before tawaf, make sure you have wudu. You need wudu to do tawaf. Alright. After we're done with the tawaf, the sunnah is to pray 2 units of prayer. Right? 2 voluntary units of prayer. Now the sunnah is to pray behind Maqam Ibrahim. Right? Maqam Ibrahim is that little golden dome structure. And inside of it, there's like a stone tablet. And it said that the imprints in that stone tablet are the footprints of Ibrahim alayhi salam. But praying behind there during tawaf is impossible. Right? There are so many people, and there's so much rush. If you were to pray there, you're going to get trampled and you're going to be blocking traffic. So you can pray anywhere in the masjid. So what we'll do is, once we're done with the tawaf, we will find an open spot in the masjid and we will pray our 2 raka'ahs. In those 2 raka'ahs, it is sunnah to recite again Surah Al-Kafirun and Surah Al-Ikhlas. So قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Once you're done with those 2 raka'ahs of prayer, you also make dua. That, oh Allah, accept this tawaf from us, accept our umrah from us, dua for anything you want, and then drink zamzam till you're full. Right? Drink as much zamzam as you can. And there's coolers of Zamzam all over the masjid. Right? All over the grand mosque, there are coolers and water fountains of Zamzam. In every single location, we will drink Zamzam. And once we're done with that, we are going to head towards the Mas'a. Right? The Mas'a is the portion of the masjid that houses Safa and Marwa, the two mountains. Right? So Safa and Marwa were the two mountains that Hajar, the wife of Ibrahim a.s., ran in between. Now, the structures of those mountains don't necessarily exist as they used to in the past. Right? There's still remnants of Mount Safa, and nowadays there's no more remnants of Mount Marwa, but the space is still there. So we are going to walk towards the Mas'a. And as we're walking towards the Mas'a, it is sunnah to recite this one verse from Surah Al-Baqarah, إِنَّ الصَّفَا وَالْمَرْوَةَ مِنْ شَعَائِرِ اللَّهِ. That truly Mount Safa and Mount Marwa are from the signs and the symbols of Allah. Right? These are from the signs and symbols of Allah. So it is sunnah to recite that verse at that time. If you do not know the verse, one of your group leaders, myself, we will recite it out loud so you can repeat it after me. Right? We will recite that verse, and we are going to go to where Safa is. And we will go towards Safa. We will get to a certain portion. We're going to turn towards the Qibla and make dua. Now, when you're on Safa and Marwa, we open our du'as with a specific phrase. Right? We say, La ilaha illallah, wahdahu la sharika lah, lahul mulk wa lahul hamd, wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. Then you say, La ilaha illallah, anjaza wa'da, wa nasara abda, wa hazama al-ahzaba wahda. So this opening supplication, we'll say it together, inshallah. Right? I will say it out loud and you can repeat it after me. But after that, you make your own personal dua then. So this opening phrase is like a gateway into the dua. Right? We are praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that praising is the opening of our dua, and then we will make any dua that we want. So we'll be standing where Safa is, we'll be facing the Qibla, we will make this dua, and then we start walking towards Marwa. Right? We are going to walk towards Marwa. Now as we're walking towards Marwa, again you can recite whatever you want. You can recite dua, you can recite Quran, you can do dhikr, you can remain silent. And again, this portion is longer, so this is where people become a little bit, I don't want to say bored, but they're a little bit tired and exhausted. And this is where, mashallah, the conversations start happening, which is okay, right? As long as you keep the conversations a little bit limited. But you're going to be walking towards Marwa. Now, as we're walking towards Marwa, there's going to be a portion that is illuminated with green lights. So in this portion that's illuminated with green lights, the men specifically are going to run through it. Right? They're going to run or jog through it, and the women will continue walking. Right? And then we are going to go all the way till Marwa. Once we get to Marwa, we will face the Kaaba, we'll face the Qibla, and do that same exact dua. So we'll open up with that phrase, that dua again, and then we'll make any dua that we want to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is one leg of sa'i. Right? From Safa to Marwa is number 1. Then from Marwa back to Safa is 2. Then Safa back to Marwa is 3. And we're going to complete it 7 times. So we are going to walk in between Safa and Marwa a total of 7 times. The distance, he has it here, it says one leg of Safa and Marwa is 370 meters. A quarter mile? One way? Allahu Akbar. Alright, one way is a quarter mile. So if you're doing it 7 times, how many miles is that? Math, number guys. About 1.75? So almost 2 miles. And you've already walked around the Kaaba 7 times. So just be ready for some walking, inshallah. Right? Maybe nowadays, we have a week before we go. You can kind of train yourself and go for a walk in your neighborhood for about half an hour every day, and you'll be good to go, inshallah. All right, so walking, again, it's tiresome. It gets a little bit tiring, and it's marble floor. We're not used to walking on marble floors, so your feet might be tired afterwards. But the thing to keep in mind is we are doing this celebrating the legacy of Hajar, right, the wife of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And she did this in the burning heat of the Arabian desert. There was no marble, there was no structure. She was outside in the middle of the desert, walking on burning sand, looking for water. We are going to be walking on marble. It's going to be air conditioned, and there's Zamzam available every so feet. So it's a lot more comfortable, even though it might be tiring. All right, so the whole process of doing the tawaf plus the sa'i, right, bare minimum might take 2 hours. It could take up to 3 hours, depending upon the rush and depending upon how many people are there. But once we are complete with 7 rounds of sa'i, essentially our umrah is complete. Right? All the rituals of the umrah are complete. The only thing that's left now is to shave or trim our hair. So for shaving and trimming, it is wajib to shave or trim the hair in order to exit the state of ihram. So what we'll do is, once we're done with the sa'i, we will head back towards the hotel. Right? There will be people there with scissors and they're cutting people's hair, like, avoid that. We will cut our hair once we get to the hotel. So for the men, the basement of the building of the clock tower, there's like hundreds of barbershops there. I don't know why there's like 30 barbershops all next to each other and they're all competing for your business. So we'll go to the barbershop. For the men, it is more rewarding to shave your head. But if you don't want to shave your head, you can trim your hair. But the amount that needs to be trimmed is, they say, 1 fingertip from all over. Right? 1 fingertip amount from all over. For the sisters, the amount that needs to be cut is also 1 fingertip from all over. So what the sisters will do is you'll gather your hair in the back and you will cut that portion off. And once you do that, you have exited the state of ihram. So for the men, we'll do that in the barbershop. For the sisters, you'll go up to your room and you can cut each other's hair if you trust each other. If not, then you can cut your own if you want. But you'll just gather it in the back and cut just the amount of a fingertip off. Right? Once you've cut your hair and you've shaved your head, you have exited the state of ihram and your umrah is done. So the umrah itself as an act of worship is relatively short. It's relatively straightforward. It takes minimum 2 hours, maximum 3. Perhaps if you're really walking slow, 4 hours. So it's not a really long act of worship, but it's something, inshallah, that is very fulfilling. There's a lot of reward. There's a lot of virtue in it. All right, now, once we're done with our umrah, we will be staying in Mecca for either 3 nights or 4 nights, depending on which package you're in. Now, while you're in Mecca, the absolute best thing to do is to do as many tawafs as possible. So every time you go to the mosque, to pray, you can do a tawaf. And when you do tawaf, you can be in your normal clothes. Right? After we're done with umrah, we can take a shower, we can put on our normal clothes, and we will stay in Mecca in our normal clothes. There's no ihram, nothing. So you can go to the masjid as much as you want. You can pray all your 5 daily prayers there, and you can do as many tawafs as you want. But every time you do a tawaf, remember 2 things. That 1 tawaf is walking 7 times around the Kaaba, followed by 2 rak'ahs. So every time you do tawaf, you're going to walk around 7 times, followed by 2 rak'ahs. And you can do as many as possible. And that is the best thing to do in Mecca, because we cannot do tawaf anywhere else in the world. The only place in the world where we can do tawaf is in the city of Mecca. So the best act of worship to be engaged in while in Mecca is to do tawaf. You can do tawaf for yourself. You can do tawaf on behalf of someone else, on behalf of a loved one who's deceased, who has passed away, right? Whether it's a parent or a relative or grandparent. You can do tawaf maybe upon a relative or a sibling that you have who might be disabled or does not have the ability to do it themselves. If you want, you can also do an extra umrah, right? And a lot of people, they want to do extra umrahs. No problem, you can. It will be tiring, but you can do it. And the way you do it is you will go to a place called Masjid Aisha, because that is the miqat. So from the hotel, you'll get a taxi. You'll take that taxi to Masjid Aisha. Right there, you'll pray 2 rak'ahs. You'll make the intention in talbiyah, and you'll be in the state of ihram. Then you will come back to the masjid, right? Same taxi will bring you back, and you can do another umrah. And that umrah you can do again on behalf of yourself, or you can do it on behalf of a loved one who has passed away as well. We recommend that if you want, you can, no problem. I know people that, mashallah, in one trip, they did like 5 or 6 umrahs. I don't know how, but mashallah, they did. All right. I usually only do 1. So the walk between Safa and Marwa is only an act of worship in Umrah, and that's it. Outside of that, it's not considered an act of worship. So the only thing you're going to do is tawaf, extra. Right? And while you're there, you want to spend as much time as possible in the masjid. And one of the beautiful things about being in the masjid there is simply looking at the Kaaba as an act of worship. That if I'm sitting there and I'm not doing anything but I'm looking at the Kaaba, I'm still getting reward. So wheelchairs are available, and for those who cannot do tawaf while walking, we will try and help and arrange for the wheelchair. Usually you're going to have to pay some sort of fee. I don't remember how much it is, but they'll help us coordinate that, inshallah. So for whoever needs a wheelchair, we'll help coordinate for both tawaf and sa'i, inshallah. On your own, yeah. So sometimes the hotel concierge, like if you go downstairs, they have wheelchairs, and you can take that wheelchair and push it yourself, if you want to do so. Yeah, you'll bring it back to the hotel then. You'll bring it back to the hotel. That's okay, because you're not applying it intentionally. It's better to avoid it while you're in ihram, but if it gets, it's okay. You don't need to worry about it. Not in tawaf, not in tawaf. I mean, one of the sunnahs for men is called ramal, and ramal is like it's like a military march. It's like a high step, and you're moving your shoulders, right? If you have space to do that, you'll do that. If not, then it's okay. Right? The Prophet ﷺ did that with the companions when they did their umrah. But if you have space, you do it. If not, it's fine. The first three rounds. The first three rounds. Na'am. All right. So that essentially is the umrah. Again, it's simple, it's straightforward. But I think the thing that I really want to emphasize is that use this trip as an opportunity to like reset, recharge, recalibrate. You know, our iman, our faith is something unique. And part of the uniqueness of our faith is that it goes through these cycles. It goes through ups and it goes through downs. And one of the ways of really supercharging and recharging our iman and recharging our connection with Allah is by going on spiritual journeys like this. Is by taking these opportunities and going and traveling to the city of Mecca and the city of Medina. And the purpose while we're in the city of Medina, they say, is to actualize and internalize La ilaha illallah. Right? What does that portion of the kalima actually mean? Right? What does it mean that there is nobody, there is no person, there's no deity, there's no philosophy or ideology worthy of worship except Allah? So while we're in Mecca, our focus should be on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, connecting with Allah. So reflecting upon all of the blessings He's given to us, focusing on, contemplation and reflection and learning about Allah, and really connecting to Allah in Mecca. And when we're in Medina, the focus is Muhammadur Rasulullah, that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. So learning about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, learning about his life, his struggles, his sacrifices, right? Learning about his character and his manners, and really, literally falling in love with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if we want like a complete objective or a complete goal of the journey, is these two things: to increase our love for Allah and to increase our love for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And inshallah, myself and Sheikh Faqih, we will be with the group literally like at every single step of the way. We will be available at all times. If there's any questions, if there's any concerns, if there's something you need to learn how to do, we will be there and available to answer your questions and guide you through the entire journey, inshaAllah. Mm-hmm. At LAX, inshaAllah. You should be at the airport minimum 3 hours before departure, minimum. All right, the earlier the better. I think the Turkish flight is at 6:15. Saudi Airlines, the Saudi flight is at 4 o'clock. Is at 3. So be at the airport by 12. For the Saudi flight, be there by 12. No, just check in. Just check in and go to the gate. And once you're at the gate, you'll see your group members there. And then, go ahead. For the badges, you'll get them in. I think we're going to give them in Medina, inshallah. Yeah, in Medina, or you'll receive it in the mail before we depart. One of the two. Not in Jeddah, because you guys are going to arrive in Jeddah, and immediately you'll take your flight to Medina. So the ID cards for the group, either you'll get it in the mail before we depart, or once we're in Medina, inshallah. In Medina. Remember to take your passports with you to the airport. There have been instances where people came to the airport, they forgot their passport. I don't know why. Now they have the electronic visa. Make sure that you actually print it out. Right? Have a physical hard copy with you, and keep a copy of it on your phone as well. In terms of your passport, right, keep a copy of your passport with you, and keep an electronic copy on your phone as well. Sometimes you might need it to exchange money. Sometimes. You will definitely need it for getting a SIM card. If you want to get a SIM card in Saudi, you will need a copy of your passport and a copy of your visa. So make sure you have those, either physical or electronic, but just have those copies with you. In terms of money exchange, the money exchangers are readily available, right? In Medina, like literally, the alley right next to our hotel, there's a money exchange available. In Mecca, same thing, right? Outside of our hotel lobby, there's a money exchange available. The rate is usually around 3.73, right? 3.73 riyals per dollar. It's decent, it's good. Don't carry that much cash with you. Just take enough that you'll need. I think breakfast is provided daily, right? Breakfast is provided daily. It's a huge, breakfast. You can eat till you're full and then not like have lunch and just have dinner later on. Food courts are readily available everywhere, right? Food is readily available. Drinks are readily available. So all those things you don't have to really worry about. A lot of people ask about shopping. Obviously, that is not the purpose of our journey, but people will shop when they're there. No problem. We recommend shopping in Medina because it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to do. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when coming back, we will be welcomed by the TSA, and sometimes that welcome is not very welcoming. Um, there is a possibility that they might take you for secondary. Allahu a'lam. Most people in the group don't. Some people get it. When you get to secondary, it's important that there's this organization called Muslim Advocates, right? There's an organization called Muslim Advocates, and they have a few like tutorials, a few videos of what you should do if you ever get stopped by a TSA agent. I highly, highly recommend everyone to watch those videos before traveling. Right? They will give you tips and they will give you advice on how to deal with TSA agents. Essentially, as an American citizen, you have the right to enter back into your country. Right? That is your right. But they also have the right to give you problems. Right? And they can hold you up for a bit. But they're basically going on a fishing expedition, right? They're looking for information for no reason. The only 3 questions you really have to answer are what's your name, right? Your personal identification, what's your name, where do you live, etc. Where you went for your travel, like what places you've been, and what you were doing there. Anything beyond that, you are not required to answer, and you shouldn't answer. If they start asking you personal questions like what mosque do you go to, and what scholars do you listen to and stuff like that, you can be like, you know what? I don't feel comfortable answering those questions, and they can't push it. They might try to intimidate you, but that's just their tactics. You just say, you know what? I'm not going to answer any more questions. I've told you everything that you need to know, and please expedite the process and let me out. If they keep pushing it, then you can ask for their name and their badge number and stuff like that, and it depends on how aggressive you want to become with them, but just watch the video, right? Watch the Muslim Advocates video, it helps. I think they had been asking for people's cell phones and laptops, and I think just recently a court ruling was giving is that it's illegal for them to search your phone. So you do not have to give them your phone if they ask for it. But inshallah, no one gets stopped. Inshallah. Inshallah. Any questions? As long as you tie it in the back and cut that amount, it's good. That's fine. If you're doing multiple umrahs, you have to cut it every time. Go ahead. It's up to you. It's up to you. I personally just do more tawafs. But some people, they really want to do Umrah for like a deceased parent or a grandparent. That's perfectly fine. Ziyarah in Mecca, we usually go through the masha'ir of Hajj, like the places for Hajj, like Arafah, and we drive by like Muzdalifah and Mina, and then we go to Ghar Hira, where Revelation first started, and we drive by Ghar Thawr as well. So some of the historical sites, we'll go through them inshallah, and we'll have group meetings in Mecca as well inshallah. So Yahya, put what on? Itar, you can put it on before you enter Ihram. So you can smell good before. hmm But we're not going to climb up. Yeah, we're not going to climb up as a group. If you want to climb up to the cave, then inshallah we'll send you on your own. You guys are going to go? So, I mean, as a group, internally, you guys can organize together to go. I might join. We'll see. It's high. It's about 1.5 hour walk up. If you've already shaved your head, you just pass the razor over your head again. So it's not like you might not be shaving anything, but at least the razor is going over. Or you can, like the first time, you just trim your hair a little bit, and the second time you shave it. Now, nothing. Don't worry about any of that. If anything happens, comes about, then we'll talk about it then, inshallah. Like recommended du'as? So just whatever du'a you want to make. There's nothing recommended that you have to recite. I mean, it's good, those du'a books, if you have like a translation of it, it's good to have it, because they're beautiful du'as, but more is your own personal du'as are better. Yeah. Yeah, so this app right here, We Sanam, it's on the App Store, it has those du'as in it. I would recommend everyone getting this app. It's called We Sanam. It's a free app, and it goes through the entire process of Umrah on the app, and it has a cool counter as well. Like for your tawaf, like every time you finish, you can press it, it counts it for you. For sa'i, it keeps track as well. It's called We Sanam. We Sanam. Right on the screen. WESALAM. It's on the App Store, it's on the Google Play Store, it's a really good app. The first link is for the book that we published from IOK. If you want an easy resource guide, you can purchase this book that we published for Hajj and Umrah. And I believe we have copies here available as well. If you want to purchase copies, they're here as well. All right. You just take a break, go make wudu and come back. And continue where you left off. So alhamdulillah, finally in the masjid they have wudu stations now. Right? For a long time they didn't. Now in the mataf, like if you just go like inside the structure, there's actually wudu stations, like there's escalators that come down into the mataf. So underneath those escalators they built wudu stations. So if you need to make wudu, you can make it inside the masjid now, alhamdulillah. Before you'd have to go outside. Alright, but other than that, again, it's a fairly simple, straightforward process. Inshallah, it will be something very beneficial. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this journey easy for us, to facilitate it for us, and to make it a source of blessings and barakah in our lives, and to not only give us the opportunity to go this time, but to go multiple times throughout our lives, inshallah. Any other questions? Yeah, so there'll be daily lectures and reminders in Medina and in Mecca as well, inshallah. Yeah, so all that information will be communicated there, inshallah. Inshallah. Everyone should have received the link for that WhatsApp group, right? Join the WhatsApp group. Most communication for the group will be the WhatsApp group and through email, but the WhatsApp group is the easiest. Mm. Mm-hmm. Inshallah. Yeah, his connect. Well, same, yeah, same connect. Inshallah. Inshallah. All right. May Allah accept from us, inshallah. Subhanahu wa bihamdihi, subhanak wa hamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, Jazakumullah khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Make sure you don't miss your flight. be at the airport on time, and I will see everyone in. If you're on my flight, I'll see you at LAX. If not, I'm taking the Turkish flight. So if you're not on the Turkish flight, I will see you in Medina, inshallah. I believe the Saudi flight comes a little bit earlier. What time do you guys arrive? Friday night, and we arrive like 2 a.m. So they'll be there to welcome us, inshallah. Yeah. It depends. 8 days, 6 days, but he's leaving from DC. But inshallah, we'll all meet up in Medina. We'll be in the same place, inshallah. All right. And if you have any questions before that, you can always just send it in the WhatsApp group, or you can email me as well, and I'll answer, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.